Hey y'all, it's Shanice, and this is your weekly astrology forecast starting Monday, January the 12th through Sunday, January the 18th, 2026. This is a collective reading focused on the signs, degrees, and the major aspects, so you can track what's happening without getting overwhelmed. Now, this week is a build with a plot type of week. We start with pressure and triggers, and then we move into reality checks and end with a Capricorn New Moon reset that says, okay, now we are ready to commit. Now, the signs and the degrees that are most affected this week, if you have any personal placements, that's Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mars, and Mercury, near these degrees that I'm about to mention, you will feel these transits louder. The first is 22 degrees cardinal. So that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. The sun will form a square to Chiron. So the sun is in Capricorn and Chiron is in Aries. And then Mars will form a square to Chiron and Aries. So Mars is also in Capricorn. And then the next group of signs are 26 to 29 degrees Capricorn and 26 to 29 degrees mutable placements, specifically Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo. Mercury in Capricorn will form a conjunction to Mars in Capricorn at 26 degrees. So this is for those Capricorn placements and those cardinal placements. And then we have a new moon at 28 degrees in Capricorn. Venus in Capricorn, right before she leaves Capricorn, will form a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. And then we have a Sagittarius moon this week at 29 degrees that will form a square to Neptune at 29 degrees. The last group of signs are fixed signs. So that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Around 27 degrees, we have Venus in Capricorn forming a trine to Uranus, as well as the sun forming a trine to Uranus. So both Venus and the sun are in Capricorn, and Uranus is retrograde right now in Taurus. So this is those type of like breakthrough or pivot type of energies. If you do not know the degrees, do not stress about it. Just listen to the themes for this week, and you'll start to recognize how these themes are playing out in your life. Now, the first theme, we have three big themes this week. The first theme is the Sun and Mars and Capricorn squared to Chiron and Aries. So this is the energy that can poke old wounds around self-worth, confidence, identity, and you'll probably ask yourself, am I doing enough? The goal is not to spiral with this energy, it's to respond differently when these triggers come up. Now, the second theme is reality checks and exaggeration. So Mercury is in Capricorn, a very structured and reality type of sign. It's a tangible energy. And then we have Jupiter, Mercury forming in opposition to Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. So Jupiter is the energy of no boundaries and being overwhelmed or like overextending yourself. So around the middle of the week, you can get some potentially some big news, a lot of people's opinions coming in, maybe even big promises, overextending yourself. Mercury opposite Jupiter is the vibe of that energy. It can feel really big, but we still need to verify all of the details and facts. That's that Mercury in Capricorn. It's a very honest and like factual type of sign. It likes structure and discipline. So if you do find yourself feeling really good this week and wanting to like overextend yourself off of those good vibes, make sure you are verifying the facts around your situation. And the third theme, which is a really big theme this week, is the new moon in Capricorn. So we get a Capricorn reset. We have a lot of planets in Capricorn right now: Mercury, the Sun, Venus, and Mars. Venus will be leaving Capricorn soon, by the end of this week. But for about a couple of weeks since we've entered into the new year, we've had a concentration of energy in Capricorn. Now, if you've listened to the podcast episode from last month in December, earlier in December, we had a lot of Mercury squares, Sun squares to Saturn and Neptune, Venus squaring Saturn and Neptune in Pisces while they were in Sagittarius. And a lot of people, from my personal experience, was having a pretty challenging beginning of December. And by the end of the month, things started to kind of fall into place. That's that Capricorn energy. So pay attention and think of what's been going on since the beginning of the year, and the end of December as well. Think about how you are asked to mature in certain areas of your life or bring discipline, some form of structure to your life. Capricorn is a slow moving energy, and my advice to anyone that I've been talking to about the astrology is to go slow. Make sure you have all of the details for your goals. Try not to take on too much. Jupiter is in Cancer, opposing that Capricorn stellium right now in the heavens. So we can overextend ourselves or do too much. We might even have the energy to do a lot of things at once, but make sure you don't fall into burnout, because Jupiter is influencing that energy of overextending yourself and overdoing things, and Mars isn't helping it as well. So this new moon in Capricorn is like a clean start over, commit type of moment in our lives. Look to see which house Capricorn is in your birth chart. I will be posting some rising sign horoscopes for this new moon, so make sure you are following me on Facebook and Instagram. But this is asking us to start over and commit. This new moon in Capricorn doesn't care about motivation. Capricorn cares about what you do consistently. And this is a good new moon to plan and build structures for something that you want sustainable in your life, something that is really helping your long-term goals. That's that Capricorn energy. And also going slowly, making sure you have a checklist, making sure you have all of the details so that you can have a structured plan, in regards to whatever this new moon is representing for you. Now, how to use this forecast or this episode, especially with the new moon in Capricorn. Pick one focus, in each category this week. So, one boundary, one task that you'll complete, one habit that you'll repeat for 7 days. That's it. That's all you need to do for this new moon if you don't have anything planned. One boundary, one task, and a 7-day habit that you'll repeat this month or this moon cycle. So let's get to the day by day breakdown, starting with Monday, January the 12th. This is the day that the sun in Capricorn will form a square to Chiron in Aries. Squares are conflicts. It's an angle that is all about conflict and facing the challenges that the square presents. A square is a 90-degree angle, and again, it's that conflict energy. Squares are represented by Saturn. So this is asking you to master something that is uncomfortable and challenging for you. And when the sun is involved, this is our confidence, our life force. And Chiron is all about the wounds that we don't really talk about, the wounds that we can't necessarily heal, but we learn how to incorporate and integrate them into our lives. So this is around the identity and our life force. And the moon is in Scorpio on Monday, the 12th, and it's forming a trine to the North Node, and it's forming a sextile to Mercury in Capricorn, and it's also trining Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. So Monday can feel like a pressure to like really prove yourself. It could also feel really sensitive, and you could probably ask yourself questions like, am I doing this right? Or am I doing enough? That's that Capricorn energy squaring off with Chiron. Capricorn, even when it works, it's a workhorse type of energy. So even if it's doing its best and it has all of the details lined up, it could still feel like you're not doing enough. So make sure you are taking things slow and tackling one task at a time. I can rest assure you that you probably are doing enough. And if you aren't, get all the details laid out and make sure you can execute the steps of those details. So, the best way to use Monday's energy is to do something small but real. Choose a mature response instead of a reactive response. And have one honest conversation with a loved one or someone that you've been wanting to have an honest conversation with. Or you can just write this down and get it out of your body. A journal prompt that you can use for Monday is, what would I do today if I didn't need anyone's approval? If you are running into some issues with not feeling like you're doing enough. So let's move over to Tuesday, January the 13th. And this is Mars in Capricorn's day to square Chiron in Aries. So instead of like our life force and our confidence, I mean, the confidence is still showing up because Chiron is in Aries, and Aries is that sign of confidence in our identity. Um, the sun is exalted in Aries. So those themes from the sun is still showing up on Tuesday, but now Mars is involved, and this is taking action and doing something. So this Tuesday's energy can feel like high output type of potential, or also feeling really, really irritable. And then the moon is still in Scorpio. And on this day, on Tuesday, the moon is forming sextiles to that Capricorn stellium. So that's Mars, the sun, and Venus all in Capricorn talking to the moon. And sextiles are energies of opportunity. So you have to take the opportunity with sextiles. They are harmonious, but you have to be willing to take those opportunities. And then the moon will form a trine to Saturn in Pisces, oppose Uranus retrograde in Taurus, and then it will trine Neptune in Pisces. And the moon will enter Sagittarius on Tuesday and sextile Pluto in Aquarius. So again, this is a very high output type of day. You might want to take a lot of action or do a lot of things. Make sure you are discharging that energy in some way. Like, the best way to use Tuesday's energy is to move your body even for 10 minutes just to discharge that Martian heat. Like, you might feel overstimulated or overwhelmed or like really jittery and anxious. Also, doing one practical task that you've been avoiding. And if you're emotional, don't text impulsively, write it down, wait a while, wait until like the new moon in Capricorn, and then decide if you want to send that text message. Watch out for like power struggles and snapping on people, or I'll burn it all down type of decisions on Tuesday. If you can, working out on Tuesday would be a good use of this energy, that Martian energy. And also Chiron is in Aries, which is Mars ruler Aries. So this is a very like high voltage type of day. Now, on Wednesday, January the 14th, Mercury in Capricorn will form an opposition to Jupiter retrograding in Cancer, and Venus in Capricorn will sextile Saturn in Pisces. So the moon is in Sagittarius all day, and it will only form one aspect, which is squaring both the north node in Pisces and the south node in Virgo. So translation for this Mercury Jupiter type of energy, or in this Venus Saturn type of energy with the moon in Sagittarius, this is a day where you could have big conversations. There could be like some big headlines in the news. You could also be making big promises, or someone offering big promises to you, big opinions. Everything on Wednesday could feel not overwhelming, but or maybe it is overwhelming, but it can feel like a lot of overextending and, big promises and things that you might not necessarily be able to keep. So don't confuse the confidence that you might feel on Wednesday with accuracy. And make sure you are being mature in love. You are setting up real boundaries, real relationship responsibilities. Also, this is related to our finances with Venus, not just our relationships, but financial realism, making sure you're budgeting. The moon, not the moon, the sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, all are in Capricorn, asking us to get real about our finances. So today, or not today, but on Wednesday, the best use for Wednesday's energy is to verify the information that you are being presented with, or you are presenting. Make a plan that you can actually keep, and choose the mature option, not the dramatic option. Now let's move over to Thursday, January the 15th. Venus in Capricorn will form a trine to Uranus retrograding in Taurus. And Mercury in Capricorn will form a square to Chiron. So Venus, the Sun, Mars, and now Mercury is forming a square to Chiron. And the moon is in Sagittarius, trining Chiron. So it's talking positively to Chiron. But the moon will then square Saturn later in the evening in Pisces. So this is a breakthrough or a pivot type of day around our money, values, relationships, and our standards, or what you are willing to tolerate. But the Mercury Chiron square can make you sensitive to the tone or to the criticism that's being presented to you, if that's the case for you. So the best way to use Thursday's energy is to upgrade something practical, like your budget, your boundaries, and your routines. Try a new approach to something. And if you need to talk, keep it simple and direct. So watch out for taking things too personally, or spiraling after one comment, or even like mind reading. Just have honest conversations and take the mature route in conversations. We are still in Capricorn season. So let's get over to Friday, January the 16th. We don't have any major transits that are happening on Friday. We kind of get a bit of a break from like the major transits, but we have the moon squaring Neptune. The moon is in Sagittarius, squaring Neptune in Pisces at the final degree, and then the moon will enter Capricorn. So this probably will be happening earlier in the morning, when most of us are getting ready for our day, or when some of us are asleep. But this energy will still show up throughout the day. It sets the tone for the day. So the best way to use this energy on Friday is to rest, to simplify, do low stake type of task, save any major decisions, conversations for Saturday or Sunday, when we are in that new moon energy. So Saturday, January the 17th, we have Venus in Capricorn forming a sextile to Neptune, and we have the Sun in Capricorn forming a sextile to Saturn. Venus will then enter Aquarius, breaking up a little bit of that Capricorn energy. And then the Sun in Capricorn will trine Uranus retrograding in Taurus. The Moon will also be in Capricorn all day, talking to the North and the South node, and also Jupiter retrograding in Cancer. So this is one of the best days to like really plan, really to have those conversations. It's a get it together type of day. Capricorn plus the support from Saturn and a breakthrough with Uranus could represent structure and progress in our lives. So the best way to use Saturday's energy is to plan your week ahead. Or you can set a 30-day goal, clean up any systems that you have, like money, your scheduling, or any planning that you have. And then Venus will enter Aquarius and shift toward truth, clarity, detachment, and does this actually make sense in the long term? So it'll kind of help us with that energy of like feeling like you're not doing enough. Because Capricorn, we have such a heavy stellium in Capricorn right now. We've had it all month. So with Venus entering Aquarius, you'll be a little bit more detached from the feeling of, am I doing enough? Or, is this work good enough? It'll help you see the truth and get really clear and detached. It's kind of like looking or examining all of the things that you've planned while Venus was in Capricorn. So Sunday, the big day of the week, we have the new moon in Capricorn. But before that, Mercury will conjunct Mars in Capricorn. And conjunctions are like a neutral type of energy. It's not good or bad. It depends on how this is, like what's going on in your life. And that'll tell you how it manifests. Now, conjunctions are intense energy because it's at 0 degrees. So it's like both of the planets are finally meeting up in the same house and sign and having a conversation from the last time that they met up. So this day is really packed with a lot of like getting clear around our goals and asking us to reset, plan, and execute. Capricorn new moon energy is not like a really fluffy and, all good vibes type of energy. It's more of like choose the goal, choose the system, and choose the discipline. So, like I said earlier in this episode, one boundary that you can commit to, a 7-day habit that you want to start, or some sort of goal, some sort of money routine. It's asking us to get clear about our systems. Now, watch out for perfectionism and over planning, trying to change everything at once with this new moon in Capricorn. A good intention idea that you can set is, I commit to systems that supports the life I want. So Capricorn likes the details, the small details, and it likes to work on those details for something larger and more sustainable. So get really serious about whatever it is that you are working on and start small and slow. Over time, you'll start to pick up more habits with that, and you'll be able to grow and see the sustainability in it. Now, that is it for this week. That this week's energy is all about pressure that reveals a truth, reality checks that mature you, and that Capricorn new moon that helps you rebuild your structure. If this episode helped you, make sure you are subscribed to wherever you are listening to this episode. Weekly forecast drops every Monday, and I also post short form content reminders on Instagram and Facebook. So make sure you are following me on both of those platforms. I will leave a link to my accounts in the show notes. Until next time, I love you guys. I hope you have a great week, and peace.